Everybody is self-sufficient by themselves. But when we come in as a couple, we can't seem to work anything out. It has to be all on the man. Something men don't talk about is the highs and the lows of being the head of the household married. This is something that you don't hear a lot of men talk about. And I'm not going to say that it's a bad or a good thing. It just depends on how you kind of look at being in a relationship when you have kids too. One of the things about like just being married and the head of the household is that we live in an atmosphere now where so you hear many men talk about taking care of the household. Basically, you're the one that's supposed to go broke and make everybody else feel comfortable. But at the same time, you still have a person that's most likely working, bringing in the income, but they just able to take that income and do whatever they want with it. I think a lot of us kind of got the game backwards. If a person is bringing in money, I'm sorry, I grew up with my grandpa doing a lot, but I also grew up seeing a lot of women work. And I started paying a lot of attention to how women operate. And I realized, even from other cultures, from Mexicans to either other cultures, I realized that we cannot compare ourselves to other cultures. If you're not brought up that way, you can't operate that way. Especially if you come from a country that has to have, basically, if you come from somewhere where as though everybody have to work, everybody has to work. You can't just make up a thing in your head and say that my wife ain't gonna work just because I don't want her to work. Well, if you're able to do that, then go do your thing. But the thing that we notice today in the United States, men are getting the short end of the stick. Or should I say, sometimes women get the short end of the stick, depending on who's the breadwinner. And I have noticed that if you're looking at life and you want people to be able to stay home and live this lifestyle of you're being taken care of, well, remember, it's a price to pay for that if it does not work out. And a lot of times you do hear, I'm going to say women because most likely it's a lot of women that speak like this, that say you shouldn't go into a relationship like that. Well, I think today's time, a lot of men need to start to think that way because a lot of men are being ran through the courts. So I realized that you do have to start to look at things differently. Both parties have to contribute to the household. Even though the man might be taking on most of the bills, but at the same time, I'm noticing now that you do see relationships that actually are working very well where both parties are putting their money in the pot and actually taking care of their bills, and they're able to live prosperly and comfortable. I never grew up with my mom sitting home, not working. But when you get in a relationship, all of a sudden you're not going to work no more. No, that's not right. Because now a person has to struggle and maintain everything while the other person just sits around. Y'all say the other person don't sit around, but guess what? A kid is going to end up going to school in due time. So you cannot just sit around and do anything and just waste precious time. And then eventually boredom going to set in. I don't care what nobody say. We're not in the back in the day. We're not living in the Stone Ages. People need to stay occupied. People need to contribute. All this making you feel good, I realized that I did that. I took care of all the bills. And at the end of the day, I'm not bitter. But I realized it makes you feel good as a man. But then deep down inside, it don't make you feel good when you're going to do your money. Because eventually it comes a time where as though all the energy runs out when you're still getting the same output that you was getting before, that seems to make men feel like they feel unappreciated. Because no matter what we do, we're still paying the bills. What the other party does, you're still paying the bills. So when you realize that both people have something to lose, No one is feeling taken advantage of. No one is going into their bank account, looking at it, trying to figure everything out. One thing I'm realizing in life, if two people are not working together, all this, oh, you're not going to feel appreciated, no one feels safe, then fuck it. Let them go. I'm seeing now that no matter how much I make, you cannot let one person take advantage of the other person. And I call it take advantage because we don't live in an era now where that works no more. Where you can just sit down and say a real man operates this way. Nobody in their right mind can tell you how a real man operates. When they looking at their grandfathers back in the day that made way less, and they was able to take care of household because the houses were way less. But I remember back in the day when my babysitter, I had never seen her with a man. I don't even know who the father was of her kids. I don't know. I just remember she used to babysit me, and I love her to death. But I never recall any time, even my grandma, my mom, everybody, I never remember anybody sitting home not doing anything as a female. Never. I always seen them working. Always. Only time I ever seen someone not working was one of my aunts. And she had a dope boy. But that ended up not working out because later on down the line, he ran into some things. And then she went right back to work. Or later on, but she works now. So you you have to really look at your life. And you have to really sit down as a couple. It's hard to tell people to be realistic. But it seems like being realistic is not realistic no more to people's mindset. It seems like people are only realistic when they're by themselves. All of a sudden, everybody knows how to pay bills when they by themselves. Or they know how to get an oil change by themselves. Everybody is self-sufficient by themselves. But when we come in as a couple, we can't seem to work anything out. It has to be all on the man. In some cases, could be on the woman. But in most cases, it's on the man. And anytime one party, this is not a bash, but when it comes down to one party taking care of majority of the bills, this whole thing, this person makes way more than me, they should take care of this. Okay, I get that. But I think that needs to come to the table where we both look at our bills and say, all right, this is what I'm going to take care of. This is what I'm going to take care of. We can do it this way. Because it seems like it never works out when people try to put in the pot, like they try to put in the bank account and disperse the money out to the bills. It seems like that never works. I don't know why. It just seems like it never works. Because somebody's always coming up short and then they all of a sudden have something to spend money on. And then you end up taking the blunt force of that. And next thing you know, you're going into your bank account and you're like, damn, I only got a little bit of money left. Like, we live in a facade now. Everybody wants somebody rich. Yeah, right. Rich don't grow on trees. Like, people just don't give their money away just like that. You know what I mean? Because when you're on Instagram, you're looking at all these social media platforms, everybody look like they have something going on. Everybody look like they got all the glitz and glamour. They have all the Range Rovers, the Maseratis, like all type of cars. You know what I mean? The Rolls Royces. But when you live in the real world, you don't see these things on the daily. You don't, because real life is setting in. This is why you're seeing a lot of people not posting the glamorous life now, because a lot of people now are getting laid off. They still going after people with the PPP loans. That was the era of the balling. Like all of a sudden, cats just walking around looking like they were millionaires, But now we in an atmosphere now where as though everybody is for self. Nobody's working together. And when you don't work together, you do not see yourself as somebody that's able to take care of a whole family and be prosperous. Because let's put it like this. If the father is taking care of the whole family, it feels good, right? Okay. Now, once it gets to a certain point, you got a couple years in, he's looked at as he's the provider. That shit sound good. It always sounds good. But one thing that don't sound good, it does not sound good to always provide. And then when you look at the outcome, it never translates most of the time. Everybody has to put in the pot to make everybody comfortable. I'm sorry to tell you this, ladies. Men should not keep putting money out just to make you feel like you're safe. Safe for somebody coming through that door. Safe is me making sure that you're good. Making sure you're good is not paying all the bills and making sure I'm broke, but to make sure you're good. Like I don't know who started this. Like this whole philosophy talking about the world. No. People been watching too many rich people walk around here and too many people that got money and they looking at their life and they trying to compare and say, this is how I'm going to live. So you start putting it on a different party to think that we all can live that way. We can't. We can't. This is why you see more and more people suffering. You see more and more people getting divorced. You see more and more people battling over the finances. They said the biggest reason for people to break up is over what? Finances. Why? Because once it get rough, that's when things going to start to plummet. And things going to start to get crazy. And then they get wicked. Because when you go through a divorce, the first thing you will be attacked is on your bank account. So it is a business. This is not something that can be negotiated. A lot of fellas today need to reevaluate the way they think and the way they operate. Cannot be listening to the older generation. Because the majority of the older generation, look, I don't care what nobody tell you. I even look back. People be making shit up. I don't know many people back then, even in my family. Now, maybe in yours, but you're a damn lie. Everybody in your family was not doing that. Because it even showed in numbers when you even look it up. Nothing shows that women were not working. They were working. They were sewing. That's one thing I noticed. They were sewing. They was making clothes a lot. And they also was learning how to do hair. Women are they specialize in doing hair. And it's still today. They still do that. And they very good designers. You know, women have always been, they always been in the field doing something. Organizing, that's something that they're just good at. That's probably why you see a lot of women in HR and inside the office, because they're good organizers. They organize. But when you have the society that we in today, taking care of family, it's not about just taking care of all the bills and putting it all on one party. Now, give or take, if you are a stay-at-home mom, then, hey, it is what it is. But how many of those? Not many. You even see it. You even look the numbers up. You even see it. This is why you see so many people going through it. We have to be together. Together. Simple as that.